All right, yeah, it's kind of crazy to be honest. How this, but basically she's like a conservative MAGA traditional woman type. Um, thinks men should lead and men should like traditional. But she says basically something, and to be honest, Andrew Wilson doesn't really disagree. It's not necessarily her point which exposes her as a feminist; it's how she handles it. She also makes a great case that women shouldn't be leaders as well. Like she is a perfect example of a woman that shouldn't be leading because of how emotional she gets. And it's kind of weird. She gets emotional very quick. And then it's like, because Andrew's not necessarily disagreeing with her point, he's just saying her point is logically inconsistent, that it defeats itself. But, well, yeah. And then she gets super, but then there's a point where she says something and you go, there it is. There's that Western woman, modern woman, the truth of it. But yeah, let's go.
And by what I said, which I think that what it comes down to, a man who can provide, protect, and show that he is a strong leader absolutely deserves a woman who can trust him. And this is, I think, a big misalignment within society where I think deep down women really do want to submit to men. They want to be able, as we say in girl world, just turn your brain off when you're on a date. You don't have to
be in your
think
feminine
about
power,
where you're walking,
soft.
and you can really, and what I said with the sourdough and nails and stuff like that, clearly you don't understand jokes, but that's just my style when it comes to speaking. I think embracing your femininity, women, because we've been pushed into the workforce and had to unconsciously or unwillingly take on a lot of the male roles, like being the provider, being the protectors, things of that nature, has led women to not be able to embrace their femininity. And so I think in a good relationship, a man will be able to embrace and flourish in his masculinity, and the same with the woman. And whatever that means, being a homekeeper, being a matriarch, being a really soft landing space for her husband to land on, and a good mother, providing that environment.
Okay, so my follow-up question to you would just be this then.
Hold on, before Andrew goes in, what I was thinking then when she was talking is, what was our last point here? Hold on.
I think in a good relationship, a man will be able to embrace and flourish in his masculinity, and the same with the woman. And whatever that means, being a homekeeper, being a matriarch, being a really soft landing space for her husband to land on, and a good mother, providing that environment.
Okay, so my follow-up question to you would just be this then. If that is the case, and this is what you believe, if you actually wanted men to have the authority inside of society and the responsibility, why would you advocate that women could vote?
Because I think you keep deleting the most important part of this, which is that not every single man right now and at large, there is a lack of strong fathers. There's a lot of things that lead into, and this is not only a male problem, there's a female problem too. There are a lot of factors that lead into men. This is like the man or the bear question, if we get to that, that I think not every man right now, just being a man doesn't inherently make you worthy of being a leader. I think that you have to show that you are a leader, and this is true across the history of the world. Every single shepherd in the Torah and the original book was chosen for a lot of their specific qualities. There's a reason why those men were chosen to be leaders. Same with Donald Trump.
She's wrong there biblically too. The prophets that are chosen aren't chosen for a specific reason. They don't have specific ability. That's the point. David beats Goliath not because he has a special ability. He's a little boy. But because he's like God's on his side. God does it. It's like she's wrong there biblically. But you see where she's inconsistent there. She says men should be in charge, men should lead, women should embrace their femininity. But a lot of men today aren't men, so women should take the place of men because men aren't capable of being men in today's society. It's like you see the logical inconsistency where on one hand you want to submit to men, but you also decide when and when you shouldn't. And unfortunately for you, at this point in time, you have to be a male because men aren't. It's like, but also how can women embrace their femininity but also have to take on the role of a man because men aren't living up to. It's like it. But Andrew's going to get into this with her.
There may be other men who share similar qualities to him, but there's a reason why he was chose to lead, as opposed to any random guy that you can maybe find on the side of the street in LA who's catcalling women. I think that men...
Moses was a murderer. Catcalling women. Moses was a murderer. He murdered someone and went on the run. He wasn't educated. He wasn't nothing. Like every prophet that in the Bible, she's completely wrong. Men aren't picked in the Bible because of a specific skill they have. They get picked for the complete opposite reason, because there's no outstanding attribute about them. So therefore it must be God. They say it even with Jesus. How is this man able to preach with such wisdom when he's not an educated man? It shows you that it's God talking from him. That's the point. So she's completely wrong. She's talking about Bible scriptures, but she doesn't that is completely not what special attribute did David have? Outside of any other kid at that time that would have had to protect. The reason David was good with a slingshot was because he protected his father's sheep. Pretty much like every boy his age would have. David wasn't any special than anybody else. What made him special is that God chose him, and the point that David isn't special shows. So she's completely wrong with that. But anyway,
are worthy and live up to what it means to be leaders and protectors, and also have kind hearts, not softies, but just overall good men, in my definition.
But this is what I mean. In your definition, who are you to say what a good leader? If you think men are naturally good leaders and women aren't, and men should take that role, how could you possibly have any idea when and when not men should take the lead? Because you aren't a leader. You said men are the leaders, they should lead. But when I decide they can lead me and where they can lead me, and the second I decide they can't lead me, it's like, that's not submitting. That is like basically using men for when you need them and when you don't. But anyway.
I think those men are worth leading, and I don't think just because you're a man that automatically makes you a perfect, amazing leader. We've seen that throughout all of society. So
how is this argument not actually contradictory? Because you're saying essentially that you need to reduce men's authority because...
And there's basically what she just said there exposes her for what she actually thinks. We've seen men be bad leaders throughout all of society, which is basically criticizing the patriarchy. Basically, she's criticizing all the men that have led and saying so there is a feminist ideology that women would be better off leading, when she doesn't actually realize it's the benevolence of the men in her own society which is even given her the idea that she can even say that she can choose when a man... like most places in the world, a woman doesn't have that choice. And it's not true the other way around. There's no place where men don't have a say and women do. But anyway,
because you don't think that they're in a good position to lead women. You don't think that men in society are good enough leaders, and since they're not good enough leaders, you need to have authority. So that
when did I say? And sorry to cut you off, but
I'm saying this is.
When did I say any of that?
I'm explaining. This is an logical entailment of your argument. If you say to me, I'm advocating that women be able to vote because there's too many men in society who, if we give authority to, are going to lead me wrong, then you're actually saying that you need to have authority so that you can determine who's a leader and who isn't a leader, that actually is stripping authority away from men. Like, this is the logical entailment. I don't see a way around it.
No, I think you're just taking it how you take it, which no matter how I say it, you're just interpreting it and saying what you want to say. I've said a million times.
And there it is, the emotion kicking in. What he said was perfectly... like, he's not attacking even what she's saying. He's not even saying that, no, every man is capable of leading. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying that your ideology is not consistent. You can't submit to men on one hand, but then say, also, I decide when and where and how I submit to a man. That's not submitting to a man. It's like, that's his point. And then she comes in without actually processing what he's saying. She's now just going, because he said the word authority. But it's true. How have you not still got authority over men if you think, actually, at this point in time, men aren't capable of leading us, so women need to be? It's like,
logical about what I'm saying.
I didn't say the word illogical. You keep taking what I say and then just changing what I'm saying and then saying, so you're saying this.
not.
And then when I say, no,
Well,
I
how
didn't
am I
say
changing
that.
it?
When did I
I'm
say
just
we should
asking a
take
direct
power
question.
away
Well,
from
listen,
men? When did I say that we should take power away from men? When did I say that?
I'm
Once.
showing you I'm showing you the entailment of the logic. Here, I'll literally break down. Really simple. Here,
see,
I'll show
she's
you.
not listening.
So premise one.
I don't need you to show me. I need you to tell me when I said that, because I'm saying what I say and you're telling me what you think I genuinely believe, and you still won't address the point. But he can talk over me whenever he wants.
You see, and this is where, like, men get annoyed. Because she's sitting there saying, I don't think men today are capable, but she's not even capable of staying emotionally controlled when he's not disagreeing with her point. No one argues that men are weak at the moment. No one argues at that point. But he's just saying you're not, and she's like, she's not listening. And he's like, why would you think, from your reaction of not even being able to handle the slightest pushback of your ideology, would make you in any way able to say when men aren't able to lead you and when they are? You're not even able to intellectually engage with what he's saying because you're just getting emotional. It's like, there is no way of saying what you're saying without saying that you have the authority still. It's like, no, men should have the authority and women should submit, but men aren't capable.
Talk over him. It's because I'm a woman who wants to have men removed from society.
Look, I've moderated Andrew tonight. You got to let.
There we're starting. Well, we've already started, but why?
Talk over him. It's because I'm a woman who wants to have men removed from society.
Because I'm a woman. It's like, no, he's not even really criticizing you. He's just saying.
I've moderated Andrew tonight. You got to let him finish.
How many times can you tell me what I think I said and what I think I mean?
I'm
hear him out.
Just going to show you.
Just keep saying that, though.
Okay, stop. Just go ahead, Andrew.
So it's just like this. Just premise one, men need to lead. Okay. Premise two, in order for men to lead, they need to have authority. Premise three, women need to vote. Premise four, why do women need to vote? They need to vote because men aren't adequately leading, so women need to have authority. That's the entire syllogism. So then the conclusion is, men are not capable of leading, so women need to have authority so that they can pick the men that need to lead them. So it's actually stripping authority away from men. I don't know a way around that. Like I'm literally reducing it.
And you still haven't addressed. Again, that was not what I said. I didn't say men need to lead. I said they should lead. Ideally, men should be the leaders of society. But I don't think, you still won't.
Yeah, but she's not getting that by her saying men should do it, but at the moment they're not capable. She's putting herself as the order and God of what a capable man is and what a capable, when you're not. You're not a man. You don't know.
15 times over, you're telling me what you think I said, but you won't address the one point, which is there has been a decline in what it means to be a man in terms of masculinity, in terms of chivalry, everything like that. Across the board, there has been a decline. So if you agree with me that men are not, and this isn't only a male thing, but just speaking about men as leaders, that men at large, there has been a decline of what men's role in society has been, what they feel to be a man, and all of that combined means that right now, doesn't mean we should take authority away from men. It's the one thing you won't address is that I think we as a society,
he's not saying, you're saying take authority away from men. He's saying if you play out your idea, that is what you're saying. That by saying men aren't capable, so women need to be in charge, you are saying take the authority away from men on one hand because they're not capable, but on the other hand, you're saying it's like you're talking from two sides of the coin, both sides of the coin. That he's not saying, you're saying that we should take authority away from men. He's saying that is the natural progression of your argument, that women need to have the authority and men don't because they're not capable of having it.
Women, as men, as Americans, as whatever, should work towards getting back to a place where men and women are more strong and embrace their femininity and their masculinity. And I think that will lead us to a better place where women who can embrace their femininity will naturally approach matriarchy. They will naturally say, wait, maybe, you know what, I actually don't love my corporate job. I know a lot of women who have convinced themselves that being powerful and that they need to work for 30 years and make $1 million and then they'll have kids in their 40s. And then I personally don't agree with that. And I think that if we as a society get back to a place where originally women were not expected to be in the workforce, things of that nature, then men hopefully can recover in whatever that means to them, and masculinity can become something that means more to them and is not seen as like toxic masculinity, all of that stuff.
I'm not done. There it is. That's not the bit I was saying. Where it's the feminist, but there it is. I'm not done. I'm a strong, independent woman, not letting no man talk to me. But women should embrace their femininity and submit to men. I start to think a lot of these conservative girls, because it's kind of a cool thing to be like conservative girls, I can't help but think a lot of them just don't want a job. Like, they've become conservative because they realise that having a job is shit. Like, more than they actually have a deep philosophical conservative, because that's why I say I'm not conservative. It's why I say I'm not right wing. I don't say I'm not right wing to keep the left at bay. I say it so right wing people don't think I'm probably gonna, do you know what I mean, have an opinion that isn't conservative or isn't, do you know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't sit here and say I'm a conservative, I'm this, I'm that. But you're coming out saying you're conservative, but you're not really holding on to conservative values. Like, that it's a patriarchy.
I'm almost done, you can wait. All that toxic masculinity stuff has taught men to feel bad about themselves and not embrace their masculinity. So I think the most important part of this is not stripping away power from men or saying women are better to lead. I think we need to focus on fixing that issue, whether it's through strong fatherhood.
I don't know whether women get taught that in women courses, but that thing to be, I'm not done. I don't know whether they think like men, because they are taught that men are like bullies and they bully their way in the world and it's about being mean. So they think that. The truth of the matter is, if I was having a conversation with a man and in the middle of it, he went, I'm not done, as he was talking and going on and on and on, and I went to say something and he went, I'm not done, I'd punch him straight in the face. And no man would ever do that because they know if you do things like that, you're going to get punched straight in the face. I don't know whether women get taught, no, you got to be assertive, because it's like, that's not what being a man is. Like, that's not what being a boss is. Like, actually, the less assertive you are, the better boss you are. If you have people that work for you, that they do things for you because they actually like you and they want to help and you've made them feel part, like, that's better than just being assertive and pushing yourself around. But it's like, yeah, they're right there. It's the equivalent of me being in the woods and a grizzly bear come in and it charging at me and me going, I'm not done, and the bear going, it's like,
through stopping this idea that everybody's saying toxic masculinity anytime a man wants to actually act like a man, opening the door for a woman and a woman gets offended. I think moving away from that as a society will get...
This is another thing I noticed, that masculinity that these conservative women think is all based around what a man does for a woman. It's basically what it is. If a man opens a door for a woman, gives his coat to a woman, that's masculine. It's funny that no, we support masculinity, but how we define masculinity is how it actually benefits us, not how it disadvantages us, like having us relinquish control to the man. I've had it. The last girl I was talking to, I would say, like, just on a philosophical thing, a man has to be in charge. Whether and she's like, she'd get the ump about that. But then on the other hand, she would say, I just want someone to tell me that everything's going to be okay. But you don't want, that is what being in charge consists of. That you know that the man that you're with is capable and in control of himself and his surroundings at all times. That's a man who's in charge, not a man being in charge doesn't mean you tell them what they can wear and you punch them in the head if they make you shepherd's pie again and you're sick as shit. No, that's not being in charge. That's just being an arsehole. Being in charge means you're capable, and you're in charge. You're in charge of your surroundings at all time. You're never. Anyway.
To a place where men at large will be better equipped to lead society. And it doesn't mean that right now, I'm not saying if I really meant it, I would say it. I'm not having any secret arguments. I'm saying what I mean, which is the step one, I think ideally, men should be the leaders. And the step to get there is to fix masculinity. That's what I'm saying.
Men should be the leaders, and the way to get there is to let women be the leaders until men are capable of being the leaders.
Here, so to address, you keep saying I want to address this argument, but the argument was my premise. So the thing is when you say, okay, but you haven't addressed what's going on with men in society and the lower testosterone and the fact that they're not leading as well. But I actually did. That was the premise of my original argument, which is the reason that you see a failure in men in society is because they have all the responsibility without the authority. They have the responsibility absent the authority. So I say, okay, so how do we fix that? How do we fix the idea here that you have additional responsibilities without authority? Your premise here is, well, we need to move back to all of these things, which are preambles to women voting, by the way. That all of these things that you're pointing to, this is pre-women's suffrage. And so I go, okay, well, that makes sense. So then why is it then that you would say that men, right, who have this additional responsibility as leaders, right, you wouldn't want them to have the authority to exercise that responsibility? That seems like it's ultimately what you want. What's going on is you have an actual internal conflict here. The conflict is, I want to be a strong, empowered woman while at the same time advocating that there's a patriarchy. It's like you can't have both.
You don't know that.
Hang on. Hang on.
You know that.
Either the patriarchy is empowered with the authority to lead, or it is not. And if you say it's not empowered with the authority to lead, women need to be able to select the leaders. You have a matriarchy then, not a patriarchy. You have a second class that has additional responsibilities women don't have, but have a limited amount of authority or equal authority to women. That's the opposite of patriarchy. It makes no sense.
I just don't understand what position or where you're coming from where you consistently think that you know what I actually feel. I'm having an internal conflict. You don't know anything about my values before the show. Maybe you follow me. I don't know. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're saying the opposite of what I say every single time, and that's why it's just so frustrating. I have an internal conflict because I want to be an empowered woman. You're pushing what you clearly...
She's not getting it. She's not seeing what he's saying. And again, like I say, she's making a great case of the opposite to her answer too. She's a shining example of a woman that shouldn't be in charge of anything. She's so emotional, and she's saying she doing that thing of picking out certain things he's saying instead of engaging with the whole thing of his argument. She's focusing, like when he said authority, that was what got her. She didn't listen to anything else after that.
Internal conflict because I want to be an empowered woman. You're pushing what you clearly don't like about women onto me, somebody that you clearly don't know much about, or you can happily look through my social media.
There it is. This is just something that you clearly don't like. It's like always, there it is. There's the Western feminist woman thing. That your opinion that I don't agree with is because you just hate women, when you're like, she's I don't think she's actually capable of taking on what he's talking about. It's not even that he's having a position. It's more of a philosophical thing than anything that he's talking about, and she's getting so personal off of certain words he's saying.
arguments. That's
And
it.
based off of that, you are saying that I am clearly a secret feminist who wants to be an empowered woman. Finally said it right for everybody else, but you're telling me that based off absolutely what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Logic.
What you
I'm
were
showing
saying.
you logic. I'm
No,
showing you
that's not
logically how you have
logic.
a
That is
conflicting
you trying
position.
to push what you think about women onto me, trying to catch
No,
me
I'm
in
just
something.
showing you a logical position.
When
It
have
makes
I?
no
What have
sense.
I said? Or what have I displayed throughout my life that shows that I want to be an empowered woman where men are on the sidelines and don't have
You
power?
are advocating that women vote. If you
Yes.
advocate women vote, the entailment is women have authority.
Well, women can
if the-
vote.
Hang on. I'm answering your question. So if the entailment is that women have authority and equal authority to men, that's not a patriarchy. It's the opposite of a patriarchy. That's no longer a patriarchy. So if men have additional responsibility, right, but they only have equal authority, then they don't have the authority to lead. They don't have the authority to lead because you can negate their authority anytime you want. That's the entailment of your logic. When you say, what have I displayed in my personal life, has nothing to do with the logic of your argument. It's an illogical argument. It makes no sense. Either you want men and a patriarchy, so you want men to have the authority to lead and the responsibility thereof, or you don't. But you can't say, but I need to be equal with them in political status for them to lead. That's the opposite of your own position. It makes no sense.
No, I don't live in a fantasy world. I live in the current world where women do have the right to vote. And if you are advocating for women losing the right to vote, that is something that I don't agree with. And I don't know why you think women shouldn't vote. If I think men should lead us right now.
Again, it's not what he's saying. He's not saying you're saying that women should have the vote. He's saying that if women have the right to vote, they are equally empowered as men. Therefore, there is not a patriarchy. You can't, on one hand, advocate for a patriarchy and also say women should have the right to vote. It's kind of it's an illogical thing. I don't see how she's not getting it. She's not getting that that's not a patriarchy because women are equal to men. A patriarchy is where men are in charge and have responsibilities that are their duty because they are in charge. But if women have the equal say as men, then men aren't in charge. And you say, but that's good because men today aren't capable of being in charge, which is saying I have the authority to determine when men can and can't lead me. So therefore, I have the authority. And at this point in time, with the authority that I say I have, I am going to say that women should be able to vote. It's like, okay, fine. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But that's not a patriarchy. So stop saying women should submit to men. It's like, and then look, he's even just like, oh, she's just not getting it. It's not.
It's not an option in front of me. Should women not have the right to vote? Women have the right to vote. This isn't the 1800s like a lot of people want us to go back to, apparently. This is modern history. And if you're asking me if I would repeal this, no, I would absolutely not. If I think in an ideal society, men should be the leaders of society, yes, but I don't understand why you think you're catching
How do you want
me.
them to lead?
How do I want them to lead?
Without authority to lead? How?
Well, why do you think that you said it yourself, that the only reason the downfall of masculinity and all this stuff is because men don't have the authority to exercise their leadership?
Correct, yeah.
That's the only reason that men and masculinity has declined? That's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
It's not. All the things that you would consider. Like if I told you to point to a time where you thought men were strong leaders, you'd point
The
to
greatest
pre-suffrage.
generation that my grandpa's in.
Hang on. You would point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you when were men better men, you'd point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you any of these things, you would point to pre-suffrage.
How do you know? You
if
haven't
that-
asked me. This is exactly what you've been
Okay,
doing the whole
when were men
time. You
better
have
men?
this
When were men-
idea.
When were men better men? Tell me.
Yeah,
Answer me.
Men
When
were
were men better men? I'm asking you. You want me to ask you? I'm asking you. When were men
But
better
this
men?
is why it's just not even like I could go back and forth
Just
with you,
answer
but
the question.
everything
When were
I've
men better
said
men?
this entire time, I give you a solid answer and you flip it and say,
It's
well,
not
you
an
think
answer.
this,
It's not an
you
answer.
think that, because you're just trying to.
When were men better men? Just answer,
I'm not going to
please.
entertain this anymore.
You want to answer? You're not going to answer.
Because
the
it
question?
doesn't
Just
matter
answer the
what I
question.
answer to you. You think you know what I believe, and you're going to tell me what I actually
asking
think,
you.
despite every other question you've asked me, you've had the same reaction. And so I just don't think there's any point of me telling you something, because whatever I say,
you brought it up, and so I'm engaging
I've said
with you.
1,000 times what I think, and you keep telling me I'm on undercover this, or I really think this or
I'm
that.
asking you a question. When were
Okay,
men better
nice.
When were men better men? Can you answer the question? I don't know why we need to like do a bunch of emotional outbursts. Can you just answer
Emotional
the question?
outbursts? You called me a covert feminist, saying all these personal attacks because I said what? That I think women should
No,
vote?
I'm giving you declarative statements of fact. I haven't personally attacked you at all. So the thing is like, just very quickly.
And what he's saying is, you're talking about when men were men, and when you're talking about when men were men and men were chivalrous and all these things was when men was in full charge. Like, and what he's saying is, what you're talking about with everything else to come after women getting the vote and all of this stuff, it's like, it's after feminism. So when he's saying you're a covert feminism, it's not an insult. He's saying that your ideology of women being able to vote even comes from post feminist ideology. Before that, like, it weren't. And actually, there's like, most women didn't vote for the vote. Do you know what I mean? Most women weren't interested in voting. And the reason why because I've heard Andrew's point on why women shouldn't vote. The point is that a woman can vote someone into power. If a woman votes for someone and I don't, and the person she votes for gets us into a war, she's voted for a war that I didn't vote for, but I have to go and fight, and she doesn't. And you can say, well, she can if she wants. Yeah, she can if she wants. I don't have that choice, though. It's not a can if you want. I will be drafted into fighting a war which I didn't vote for, which is a big power women have in society that men don't. So you can vote as a woman for someone who can get us into a war. I didn't vote for that person, therefore I didn't vote for them getting us into the war, but still I have to go and fight for the war that you voted for, but don't have to go and fight because you're not going to be drafted into the war. It's like, you see that is incredibly unfair to men. And you can say, well, then draft women, not men. Well, okay, now imagine every war if women was drafted, if we drafted women in the Second World War, in the First World War, in the trenches, back in the days when it was ships, back in the days when it was horseback and knights. Imagine you had an army of women, or it was women. We threw women up, we'd have been defeated instantly. It's like,
just tell me when you think men were better men. When?
No.
What's the time period?
I'm not going to.
Of course not. Of course not. Right. Okay.
Can I do it, Andrew?
I can't force her to engage in the conversation, but.
And this is the thing, it's like she just exposed herself. She got super emotional and went into, you just don't like women and you're projecting. It's like, no, he's not projecting. He's playing out logically. You're not thinking about what he's saying. You're just offended already. And it's like, again, that's not a display that modern women are any more capable than modern men of leading. You're not an example of that from how you acted. Because what he's fundamentally doing is it's more of an intellectual exercise with someone. You're playing out their idea and showing them the hole in their logic. That in order to say women should submit to men and be more feminine, and it's like men should be more masculine. The reason men aren't being masculine is because they don't have power in society anymore. So the way to fix that is to not give men power back, but to give women power back until men get back having power, like get back to being something worthy of power. But the reason they're not powerful or they're not good men is because they don't have. It's like it's illogically, like there's a the big crossover like that. Yeah, it doesn't work. And like I say, I'm not even saying that there are real conservative women. Like, I mean, Maggie Thatcher, probably, well, they called her the Iron Lady. She's probably the sternest, strictest politician we've had in, yeah. True patriot, true conservative, true, like, yeah. She's mean, but it's not to say that there aren't women that are capable. It's like, but you're sitting there saying men are. Anyway, yeah, that's the video, sweet.